Everyone, and welcome to Polaron's Facebook live stream. As always, we're joined by our director, Eva Hussein, and our guests for this week are Mary and Joanna from the Poland Museum. Today, they'll be talking about the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising campaign and the Poland's newest floor exhibit, the Legacy Gallery. If you would like to learn more about the Polish Jewish diaspora, head to our YouTube channel for previous live streams and join us here weekly on our Facebook page for more videos and information. Over to you, Eva.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and welcome. Good evening and good morning. Here today we have a couple of special guests. Joanna Fikus from the Poland Museum, whom you've met on this live session that we do weekly. But we also have Mary Seidler, whom I haven't met in person, but we've exchanged many emails, and we kind of know of each other. Let's put it that way. A very good morning to you, ladies.
Good evening, in fact, in Warsaw, it's the evening.
I know, it's quite late.
To everybody.
Yeah, thank you for staying up for us. Look, I don't know if you ladies know this, but my grandparents were in the Warsaw Ghetto. So I come from Łódź, or from just outside of Łódź. And most of my family ended up in the Łódź Ghetto, which was, I think, the second biggest in Poland, probably. And so one that lasted the longest, so till August 1944, when it was liquidated. But my grandparents in 1939, they were already married and pregnant. In fact, I think they married in August of 1939, and my aunt was married in December 1939. So you can do the sums, you know what happened there. But when the war broke out, my grandfather, who was a very obedient man, said to my grandma, "Look, we have to go." They could have lived on the Aryan side, but they didn't. And they were in the ghetto for about 10 months before they escaped. They ended up spending the rest of the war in Garwoli, which is near Warsaw, in hiding. So this topic is quite special to me. So I'll hand over to you now to tell us a bit more about your work and what's happening in terms of commemorating Warsaw Ghetto. But I just thought I'll lead in with why this topic is particularly important to me.
Well, I'm really thankful that you shared that story, because I know probably in Australia, there are other people that have similar stories of things that happened to their family. And that's kind of the reason also why I've invited my colleague, Joanna, to join the broadcast today, to share about something exciting that, despite the pandemic, Poland Museum went ahead and released an extension to our core exhibition called the Legacy Gallery. I don't want to steal her thunder. I want to get right to my topic, but I just kind of want to heat things up so that you stick with this and you can hear what she's going to be speaking about, because everything ties together. Now, to the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising campaign, I had get the privilege of managing our international outreach of our Polish campaign, which is usually called in English the Daffodils Campaign, or the Żonkili Akcji. And if you were ever in Warsaw, Poland before the pandemic on April the 19th, you might be approached by a person holding a paper daffodil and asking if you could please take it. Why the daffodil? That daffodil is the symbol of our campaign that our museum does, Poland Museum. And we use the symbol of the daffodil to commemorate and to remind us of what took place on April the 19th, 1943. Why the daffodil? Well, it was because one of the fighters, one of the leaders and survivors of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, Marek Edelman, he did not make Aliyah to Israel or go to Australia or United States. He stayed in Poland, built his career, and was a living testament to what took place. He used his life to share with people what happened with these people and to say, never forget what took place. The largest Jewish uprising that took place in Nazi-occupied Europe. and which spurred on other uprisings. There was resistance. There was resistance from every place in Europe, but this was an uprising for dignity. And Marek Edelman, he would lay at the monument to the ghetto heroes, which now stands in front of Poland Museum, or actually has been standing there prior to the museum being built on that place. And he would lay yellow flowers, daffodils, whatever. He would lay them down. And that was his way of commemorating. The museum several years back, when they took the initiative to start this campaign, they decided yellow daffodil is going to be our symbol. And today, even though many people can't come to Warsaw on April the 19th, we can do something together online. And that is the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising campaign online edition, where you can take a selfie with your own paper daffodil or with a campaign sign, and you can use your voice to say, we remember, and we do it together around the world. So that basically sums up what the museum does. And Joanna, I think for both of us, that this campaign it means a lot, not just to us who live in Warsaw, but for people around the world like Eva here. This has an impact on her. This was her family. This represents a lot of families around the world, or a lot of people around the world who need to know about this. This daffodil also is a symbol against anti-Semitism in the world. And what these people did in the Warsaw Ghetto, how they fought as young people in the midst of terrible circumstances. They fought for dignity. And I believe that their message still speaks to us today. And with that, I'm done. I'm going to pass it on over to my colleague.
All right. So we'll ask you, Anna, now about what it means. Because, sorry, before we do that, Mary, you live in Poland, right?
Yeah.
How long for? How long have you been there?
I've been in Poland for 6 years.
And where do you come from, and how come you're so passionate?
Listen, I'm from the United States, and I grew up in California, and I remember learning about the Holocaust as a child. And California is one of those states in the United States that has mandatory Holocaust education. And I remember learning about Anne Frank and learning about all of these situations that took place in Europe. And my dad's side of the family actually is Jewish. And it just kind of touched my heart that this terrible thing happened to innocent people, even children. And I just had something inside of me that said, I want to use my voice to do something for people, to help people. And I came to the museum actually in 2014 as a visitor, a month prior to its opening. And I was really amazed at what these people had done to create this magnificent building that encapsulated 1,000 years of Jewish history, the good, the bad, the life. It's not a Holocaust museum, it's a museum of life. And for some reason, it just grabbed me, even something from my childhood. And somehow, some way, I got a job working at Poland Museum and working with the Facebook. And then the opportunity came to me to help out with this campaign, which I was already passionate about prior to even getting to work with Joanna, for example.
Lovely, thank you. So Joanna, somehow you managed to attract people like Mary who have this spark, have this energy and a real passion to not just promote what the museum does, but there's your work is a lot deeper than that, because I think apart from showing exhibits and essentially rolling out different initiatives, your main job is education, would you say?
Yeah, I think when we were thinking about creating the museum, I'm talking we, because in fact I'm involved in this project for like 20 years, and we were like, you know, a group of people, enthusiasts who from Jewish NGO in Poland, and we have, some of us have visited Washington when the Holocaust Museum was opened, and we said, yes, we would like to have something like this in Poland. But apart from saying something like this, which is not the most, you know, accurate project plan, you have to know more what you want to do. And we, as Mary said, we've decided that we want to build the museum, which will not only talk about how Polish Jews perished, but also how they lived. And I think whatever you are doing in, I would say, in culture, if you are creating a book or a movie or an exhibition, you have to think how it will resonate, how universal it is, how it will resonate with feelings of contemporary people who are living now. And I will give you one example. When we were thinking about Daffodil Campaign that Mary was describing, of course, we had some reservations that maybe people would not like to have on this very special day, a kind of a mark, which, by the way, is similar to Yellow Star of David. On the other hand, we were afraid, and let me be very open to you, we said, well, we are aware that there is an anti-Semitism in Poland, so maybe people will not be willing to be so obviously connected to this day, to this action. But we were so surprisingly, we were so surprised, because year after year, there are more and more people, young people, you know, all over Warsaw, around all Warsaw streets, at schools, who want to be a part of this project. And we were asking ourselves, why?
Yes.
Why? And I think that for Polish people, it resonates very much with the Warsaw Uprising, which happened, in fact, a year and a half after April 1943. So suddenly they found this idea of young people fighting for their dignity, freedom, you know, for all these values. And I think it's really important. And let me switch a little bit to the, we were talking before we were online, we were talking that there is another lockdown in Poland and in Warsaw now, and we had to, unfortunately, close the exhibition that we were, temporary exhibition that we were having just now. And it was for the very first time the exhibition about exactly the area called Muranów, which was pre-war Jewish district, which was the central district where ghetto was located, and which is now a very contemporary, you know, place where people are living. And we were so sorry that we had this exhibition when so few tourists could come to us. Usually we have a lot of people from all over the world, and all of them are asking us, but listen, tell us, how did it look? How this area looked like before the war, during the war? And we showed it to them. So now I'm really hoping that even though we had to close the exhibition, which was called Here is Muranów, we have a lot of online movies about it, and you can see it on our website. So
I'll mention,
I hope
sorry,
you can still be a part of the museum.
We are going to see a video in a moment, and of course some of what you said indicates how everybody, including institutions such as yours, and you know, I've been to Poland many times, and it's a sacred space. It's a space of quiet contemplation. I don't even know how to explain it, but you're walking into this amazing space where you can breathe and you can think and you can educate yourself. And I know that you had hundreds of thousands of people going through, but you have had to, you know, what do they call it now? This pivot, you know, be agile, whatever. What is the museum doing? And I know there's so many resources on your website and there are webinars, but what other things are you doing to keep top of mind for people? Because since it's such a wonderful and well-attended institution, it's probably a little bit hard with lockdowns and with things that are happening to maintain that energy of being welcoming even. What's happening at your end, guys?
Well, if I
Well,
can say
so
something after you
go on, Mary. Go
okay,
on.
really, really quick, because Joanna knows, because we did have to go into lockdown a year ago, and we did have this, here is Maranov trying to open up, and like she was mentioning, it's an amazing, amazing temporary exhibition. And it did a fantastic job of explaining the history, the layers of the history of this Jewish neighborhood. So we had to move quickly, as I'm sure you did there at Polaron, to start getting more and more active online with seminars and debates and live talks and things of that nature. And Polin Museum does a really amazing job of being forefront of education, bringing Jewish education out there. We have all kinds of book talks where we have professors debating and discussing contemporary issues in Jewish history. It's been really fantastic to sit down and to watch, for example, Anthony Polanski discuss things and about like pogroms or whatever. And then you can come to the museum after you've listened to some of these online debates, and then you can see it for yourself in the core exhibition when you're walking around, like, oh, that's what they were talking about, and you know, to learn a little bit more. I'm going to hand it over to Joanna so she can also tell us some wonderful things that have been going on.
Sure, thanks, Mary. So Anna, do we know how many Jewish people live in Poland? Because I've read all kinds of statistics from between 7,500 to 100,000, and there are people that don't know they're Jewish, they don't want to be Jewish or whatever. Is there a more precise number? Because I know that a couple of years ago there was you know, there was an effort of trying to ascertain how many people. Do you know how many Jewish people live in Poland?
You know, you begin ever with the most difficult question.
I know,
because that's the question. But honestly, that's a very, among Polish Jews, it's a very philosophical question, I would say, about identity. Because on one hand, who is Jewish? Yeah. On one hand, you can ask, for example, how many people are, let's say, members of Jewish community in Warsaw? And it's a precise number, like 300 or 400. But there are many people who are somehow connected to this Jewish feeling of identity, but they don't belong to any official organization. So it's really hard to say, but I would say that it's approximately maybe 15,000, maybe 20,000. Okay. But so it's something like this. But there are also many, as everywhere all over the world, there are many ways to be a Jew in Poland.
Yeah, because you see, I'm asking this question for one reason, and one reason only, and of course you get tourists, international tourists who come to visit the museum from Israel, from America, from Australia, from Canada. But I know, because I've been there and I've seen it, that a very large proportion of your visitors are Poles, right? And you get school kids and you get people just walking in. So what is the fascination? And you know, you mentioned a little bit earlier anti-Semitism in Poland, and that's the case everywhere, all over the world. But there's also this interest and fascination with the things Jewish. And you mentioned the Daffodil Campaign, which initially there was a little bit of anxiety around that. Poles have embraced it. How come?
Well, you know, I think that one of the reasons of our key to our success was that the way we wanted to present this history, the mutual, with all these difficult moments, we didn't want to present it in a confrontal way. So first we began with, let's say, 1,000 years of the Jewish history. We began to show to our visitors, to people, hey, look at the history of Poland. It is not complete without Jews. Look how it looked like. And then once you gain the trust, I would say, a kind of create of a trust zone, then you can confront them or talk to them or make them want to be open to discuss difficult topics. Of course, I will not, I don't want to hide that it's, since the situation, political situation in Poland, it's getting really more and more difficult. It's not so easy, because sometimes we were thinking that the whole job that we, not only we, but other organizations have done, sometimes you have a feeling that you are making, like, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. But still, even though we still think that the way how we all, as I would say, human beings or a mankind, how we can talk to each other is simply to see different point of view and know each other. And I think this was the reason why so many Poles were coming, and so many teachers and schools were really willing to be a part of our museum. Just the last example, we are doing a lot of anti-discrimination workshops for police, for judges, and we were really shocked how many members of police and members and people from judges or lawyers, they want to learn, because Poland was so dramatically mono-ethnic after the war that now, once the communist was over, communism, we had to learn how to live with, let's say, others, with people who are different than us.
Yeah. I think, Jana, you're also a super passionate person, and you've explained it so well. I grew up in Poland, and that monocultural lens that we had, or the propaganda way that we were brought up, is still somewhere there in Poland in pockets. So I think, apart from education, you're also breaking down some of the myths, some of the historical lies, I guess, essentially, or they're not even lies, but maybe half truths, or I remember learning history in one particular way because it was politically comfortable for the ruling communists, or whatever it is. Mary, I know that you're very keen to show us a video, so I'd like to invite you to do so. It is in Polish, but it's got it's very short. It's only about two minutes and a bit, and it's got English subtitles. So everyone, please watch whenever Mary gets us to see it, because it's subtitled in English as well. Yeah.
Wszyscy rodzimy się w pewnym miejscu.
We can't.
W określonej rodzinie.
One second, let me go ahead and prepare it first and get the
That's
screen
all right.
share going. There we go.
Anna, has spring arrived yet in Warsaw? Or is it not quite there yet?
No, not yet, but we will have daffodils soon, I'm sure.
Okay, that's going to contribute to the feeling of spring. Over to you, Mary.
All right, here we go, everyone.
Thank you.
Wszyscy rodzimy się w pewnym miejscu i czasie, w określonej rodzinie, kraju czy grupie społecznej. Na ile te czynniki nas kształtują i wpływają później na nasze życie? Niezależnie od indywidualnych talentów i predyspozycji, otoczenie, w którym dorastamy i żyjemy, wpływa na nasz system wartości. Z tą przynależnością wiążą się też rozmaite ograniczenia, jak również możliwości, jakich doświadczamy w życiu. W Galerii Dziedzictwo w taki właśnie sposób chcemy spojrzeć na dorobek polskich Żydów. Od końca XVIII wieku coraz więcej Żydów wychodziło poza świat tradycji, uczestnicząc w życiu społecznym, politycznym i kulturalnym swojego otoczenia. Niektóre dziedziny stawały się im szczególnie bliskie. Mieli do nich łatwiejszy dostęp niż do innych, bądź wybierali je kierując się wyniesionymi z żydowskiej kultury wartościami. Zdarzało się również, iż do dziedzin, którymi się zajmowali, wnosili nową, wywodzącą się z żydowskiej tradycji perspektywę, niekiedy mającą też związek z ich polskimi korzeniami. Ich osiągnięcia, niektóre uznane na arenie międzynarodowej, inne znane lepiej w polskim bądź żydowskim świecie, mają wartość uniwersalną. W Galerii Dziedzictwo przywołujemy zatem 26 postaci reprezentujących różne obszary twórczości i działalności: sztukę, literaturę, muzykę, film, teatr, nauki ścisłe i humanistyczne prawo, edukację, ekonomię, politykę. Wszyscy urodzili się i na ogół wychowali się w Polsce lub na ziemiach polskich. Jedni dorastali w religijnych, inni w zasymilowanych rodzinach. Niektórzy zmienili wyznanie. Ich życiorysy rozgrywały się na styku wielu kultur. Cechowało je otwarcie na świat. Wielu z nich porzuciło świat tradycji lub wyjechało z Polski. Jednak fakt wychowania w świecie polsko-żydowskich wartości nie pozostawał bez wpływu na ich życiowe wybory. W Galerii Dziedzictwo nie tylko opowiadamy zatem o wielkich ludziach, ale przyglądamy się ich biografiom i osiągnięciom w świetle ich polsko-żydowskich korzeni i żydowskiego doświadczenia historycznego ostatnich stuleci. Mamy nadzieję, że ten zbiorowy portret polskich Żydów.
Wonderful, Mary. Thank you for showing that to us. So that's a production that's been developed at Pauline, and it's just one example of the educational resources, I guess you could call them, that you produced. These kinds of resources will be available on your website to see. I mean, this is just an introduction to what you are making, I guess, or what you've made. But if people want to know more, then they are welcome to head to your website, and there's plenty of things there to see. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So look, what I'm going to do now is hand over to Sarah just for a few questions. We've got about 5 minutes. And thank you everyone for watching us. I can see people from all over the world on our Facebook page. So whatever time it is at your time zone, good morning, afternoon, evening to you. Sarah, do we have any questions for Jana and Mary?
Yeah, I have one question in relation to the museum. Are there any virtual initiatives that the museum is currently running that we can get involved with from, Australia, America, just from overseas?
I'm not sure which
Could
one.
you please, Mary, tell about Daffodil, how everybody can be a part of the Daffodil Campaign?
Oh yeah, the Daffodil Campaign, or that's how it's called in Poland, but abroad it's called the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising Campaign, and everybody can get involved by putting a selfie on April the 19th, the day of the uprising, a selfie that has either our daffodil or our campaign poster and our hashtag Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. Everybody that knows about this uprising, that they're doing this, and it is an online commemorative educative initiative that we can all participate in.
Thank you, Mary. And Jana, do you think we can come and visit during the summer yet? Do you think, can you do some magic at your end and make it happen? Because we miss you so terribly much. Like, I speak to so many people daily, they're hanging out to get on that plane and come and visit. Do you have that crystal ball? And if so, what's it saying?
Oh, I'd love to have a crystal ball, but the one thing that we have learned from this pandemic is that you can not at all, plan nor predict anything. But I hope you can come and you can see also the legacy gallery, which was presented in this movie, because this is something which we created. It's a completely new gallery, and we wanted to present there not only simply 26 famous Jews, but we also show why these individuals were so important and what kind of, strong character they had to have, to become what they became, like Helena Rubinstein, she was in Australia, by the way, or Samuel Goldwyn, or Isaac Bashevis Singer, or Ben Gurion, Prime Minister of Israel. So I hope you will come this summer and you will see it by yourself.
Look, the minute I can, I'm there, that's for sure. As I said to you before we came on air, I flew to Sydney a couple of weeks ago, and that was like the biggest event of my year, which was very exciting. I love traveling and I love visiting Poland, and I love visiting the Pauline Museum because it's a place of contemplation, as I said, but whenever I come, there's always something new. I always feel very welcome. My knowledge base has expanded massively. There are so many things I still don't know. So I'm looking forward very much to coming and visit. And look, if we can't, we'll just head to your website and grab whatever resources you've developed. And there are lots, honestly, there are lots of very, very interesting things to see and watch and learn. So on that note, I did want to thank you for spending your evening with us. It's quite early in the morning in Melbourne here. So we've got a whole day ahead of us, but you winding down. So thank you again, Mary. It was really lovely meeting you. You know, this summer I'm still hoping to grab that coffee at your coffee shop, which is great, by the way, at the museum. And Jana, thank you once again for so eloquently explaining what's going on at your end. And let's get behind the Daffodil Campaign, or you know, whatever name you want to give it. I think you can download a daffodil from your website. Is that right? And you can. It's like an origami. It's lovely, and it does resemble the Star of David, and the yellow color is reminiscent of what Jews had to wear during the war. So it's got so many meanings, and I'm so grateful for you two being here. So I'll just hand over very quickly if you've got some other things to say, but from me, thank you so much for being part of this session this morning.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure for us to be in Australia.
Yes, we've transported you. Well, thank you, Mary. And once again, maybe we give people the hashtag and the website that they can add to download the resources and get to know more about the initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. You just go over to the Poli Museum's English website, and you can find the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. There is a box right now you can click on, and you can download our campaign poster. And also, like you were talking about, we do have daffodils that you can download and you can make yourself. And our hashtag is #Warsaw Ghetto Uprising.
Wonderful. So everybody get behind it. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Mary, and have a great evening. Have you guys had dinner yet?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
I did.
All right. Well, okay. Well, we're going to have some breakfast now, but till next time, and hopefully sometime soon. It's really face to face. But thank you so much, both of you, for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Bye bye.